Okay, shalom and bracha to everyone. One of the things I want to discuss tonight is the inyan of covert. The inyan of in the kiruv world. It's very, very important when you invite somebody or you're speaking to somebody. He should see that you're a mechubed. He should see a certain covert in you. And I want to explain what I mean, and this is a very, very, very important issue. We all know today that we're living at the end of Golus Edom. The end of Golus Edom, about Amalek, the Novi Ovadia says, Bozui atem oid. Bozui atem oid, you're very bozui. Bozui means the opposite of covered. Today, in the world, there's no covered. And if there is covered, it's covered meduma. It's not a real covered, it's an imaginary covered, it's not an emistic covered. Everything that used to represent covered is now completely no covered. Oh, go ahead. Thank you very much. Levush, begodim, that used to be something which levush represents covered, so today everything's casual. It's mamish the hepech covered. And it's infiltrated into everything. There's no musagim of real covered. We'll soon explain what real covered is. And you see, for example, the whole concept of sukkahs, which sukkahs is a big havdalah between Israel and between Am Yisrael and Umas Olam. We make the sukkah out of psoilas, gorim, v'yekev. Psoilas, right? The schach is psoilas. Psoilas is bazi. Psoilas is bazi. What do we commemorate on sukkahs? The anan hakoved. So we see the tachlis of a yid in this world is that we turn bazi into covered. We're living in a world that's bazi. And we have to be the ones that represent covered. We have to be the ones that look mechubed and who represent covered in the world. We talk about Mitzrayim. We talk about the Novi Eshkol calls them horses, donkeys, Zaramtim susim, Am hadoim el chamor. It was bazi. We came out of there, Hashem wrapped us around an covered. We are the covered of the world. Am Yisrael is the covered. They represent the covered of the world. The rest of the world is bazi. And even if there's a covered meduma, as we said earlier, an imaginary covered, it's not real. And you don't have a greater proof from the story in Purim of Bahara. It says, Kvoid Oisha Malchusay, Ves Gedulasay. That Achashverosh is trying to show Kvoid Malchusay. He wanted to show that he's a man of covered. He wanted to show he's a man of greatness, of kavod. And the end of the Suda to show his kavod was that his wife leaked the secret that he was a stable master and used to live with horses. And it's the kavod which is completely the kavod hamadum. It's an imaginary kavod. There's no kavod. There's only one kavod. And that kavod is a kavod that we learn from Shabbos. Shabbos, there's a mitzvah of a chibadatoi. And the chibadatoi, Chazal Darshan, Shelo Yehei Malbushach, your clothes on Shabbos are different. Shelo Yehei Hiluchach, your hiluch, your walking on Shabbos is different. Shelo Yehei Diburach, on Shabbos your dibur is different. Everything is different on Shabbos. Shabbos is a completely different. What does covered mean? Covered means havdalah, which means that when a person covered Am Yisrael, covered, what it means, the person's kvoid shemayim. What does kvoid shemayim mean? Kvoid shemayim means where you see that you somebody comes to you, a secular Jew comes to you, he sees, wow, this is something else. Look at a palace of a king. You go into a palace of a king. It's not that he has on the floor, he has the typical old Israeli balatot. He has the old Israeli tiles 50 years ago, but his walls are full of Rembrandt paintings. You walk into a king's palace, it's not that he has regular painted walls, but he's got huge chandeliers. There's nothing there that's like your house. and that's what the famous Ibn Ezra on Leisachmoid. Ibn Ezra says, how can you command Leisachmoid Ishes Reyecha? Says the Ibn Ezra, because the poor peasant who lives in a shack somewhere in a field, in a forest, he's not going to desire to marry the king's daughter because there's no yachas, there's nothing in common. It's completely something which is completely nivdal for him. He understands that the king represents a certain covet that he cannot relate to. When a secular Jew meets with you, he has to say, wow, I don't see anything the same with him than what I'm used to. And this is not bad. We're not talking about, you're not taking him to Mesha'arim. When he sees your house, he sees covered. Better said, and this is the point of this. This is the nakuda of this nakuda. We are the Shabbos Yidden. And we are the Shabbos Yidden on Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. We spoke a lot about inviting guys over for Shabbatonim. It's true. A Shabbatonim doesn't have to be only for Shabbos. If you invite a group of people, or if you have people coming over to you, if it's in shul, you're dressing and you're speaking to them, you're a Shabbos Yid. A Frum Yid, an Erlich Yid, a Youre Shemaim is a Shabbos Yid. By As Chasidim, the dining room in the house is called the Shabbos room. It's called the Shabbos Shtiv. It's called the Shabbos Zimmer. The whole week it's called the Shabbos Zimmer. By us, we're makpid that the table in salon has a tablecloth all week long, and it looks Shabbosdik. It doesn't have the white tablecloth, but it has the table. A Yiddish home is a Shabbos home. A Jew is a Shabbos Jew. A Yid is Shabbosdik. What makes him Shabbosdik? That he's different. And when you meet up with a secular Jew, and he sees, wow, his talking is totally different than my talking. His mode of dress is totally different than what I'm used to. And that's why I tell people, when you have a group coming to your home, don't serve them pizza. They're used to eating that in the streets. I'm not asking your wife to prepare a beautiful, lavish, fleischig meal. Even if she gives them cheese and crackers, and not pizza, but she's not giving them food that they eat in the street. She's giving them multisticker food. If possible, don't have to have the regular dishes. Put nice dishes. Malchus, covered. We represent Malchus. We're a Malchustic group of people. We are Malchustic. And if we're Malchustic, so we're Malchustic, we're Shabbostic all week long. That is the biggest Kiddush Hashem. There was somebody that once became frum, and they asked him how he became religious. My wife heard this somewhere, she told me. And he said that he lived next to a very frum home. And he said he came to Friday afternoon. He said that he came home, he lived alone, the regular story. He's divorced 6 times, and he comes home to his 2 dogs, and that's his social company. And he sits down and puts on television, and he said he sees, on the side of his eye, he sees this other house next to him, and he sees this Eishes Chayil in white. He sees her lighting candles. She covers her eyes. She's chuckling. She's down. She sees the father coming home from shul later with his children. So quiet, such derech eretz. Everybody takes his seat around the table. Don't worry. Don't get depressed if your kids are wild when you come home. I don't think he meant that everybody was a robot. He meant that there was a certain covert, there was a certain malchustic about them. And these are the words he said. He says, our walls we share, we're back to back, our 2 apartments. He says, my apartment is Gehenim and their apartment is Gan Eden. What did he see? He saw that there's absolutely nothing that he has in common with them. He's living in the mud, and they are living malchustic. And somebody told me we went out, once went up north to we stayed somewhere in one of these Zimmerim for a few days. And the guy, very secular, he said to me, listen, I have to tell you something. He says, when the really frum groups come, families, and he says the secular families come, he said there's nothing that they have in common. And he was telling me, he says, like when the secular groups come, he says the way the kids talk to the parents, the way they scream and they curse out, and the noise and the sneers. And he said a frum family comes, it's like the volume is a totally different volume. The noise is a totally different noise. The derech eretz, the covered, it's a different thing. It's malchus. A home is malchus. They see that. By Hasidim, they call the father the tata, the father, the mother. Like it's all malchustic. It's all covered. Shelo yehei diburach, shelo yehei malbushach. You might think the world thinks today, on the contrary, we discussed this last time. The world thinks that if you want to be makar of somebody, make sure to dress really casual, make sure to talk like him, and make sure to eat pizza like him. That's not makar of so much. If they see malchus, they see this is a wow. They see that this is something else. This is something so malchustic. This is something so covered. Covered is the most precious thing that there is in the world. Covered is called yokar. Another word for covered is yokar. Yikra is covered. Yokar is the most precious thing. Everybody wants covered. It's the most precious thing. Lahavdil, American president, he might be a billionaire, but he's going to invest all his money in becoming president. Why? Because becoming president brings him covered, and that's worth more than all his money. So there's something that's worth more than money. And that's covered. So everybody wants covered. And what draws them to something? When they see real covered. They see this is something more precious than anything else. So the greatest kiruv that you can be makar of somebody is to understand that nakuda and is to realize that you're dealing over here with v'chibadatoy. A yid has to give over a feeling of v'chibadatoy. And I've heard many stories, I'm not going to bore you with stories, but there's many stories on this nakuda, that when you come to a house, and when you have and especially I suppose at the beginning of your exposure, you'll be having people for Shabbos. It's so important to have a multisticker feeling. And you should know another thing, which is me'inyan inyan ba'isa inyan, especially for B'nai Torah. Some people have a shitta that because they're B'nai Torah, they should look poor, and the kids should go around rags and dirty because they're B'nai Torah. In other words, it's a stamp and it's a label that we're B'nai Torah. That's a chil Hashem. You don't have to spend a lot of money on clothes. There's a lot of people that don't have any money, and once they go, if they go to the sales or they go even to Gemachim, but they get nice clothes. It's important for every Yid, in whatever financial bracket he belongs to look good, and his children should look good, and happy, and malchustik. I know somebody that lives in this area, and it wasn't matzliach with the children. And I mean, not chas v'shalom anything too bad. The kids were growing up, and they weren't exactly, and they didn't tell me that they went for help in this type of thing, but I saw the shift in their lifestyle. I realized they must have gone to somebody. And he said their house became much more of a multistika house, much more of have food at home, and they don't go b'shita and be mechanech the children in the shita to look down and poor and rags, and it's not that's a chil Hashem. One of the reasons why a lot of Israelis become more religious in Chutzlot than become religious over here is because over here they know that the Haredi world is poor and they're not happy. They don't look happy. They look dikoni as it's called in Hebrew, and they see then in Chutzlot they see that there's people learning and they still got a car and they're living somewhat of a certain lifestyle. It's not a chil Hashem. Especially if you want to be makar of somebody, they've got to see that you're happy, and they've got to see that you're not lacking. And even if a person's taka economically, he's struggling. Number one, in terms of chinuch, the kids should never see that. It's also for parents to discuss finance in front of the children. It's also for the children to feel that a parent can tell a child, well, not we can't afford to buy you something else. Meanwhile, this is good for you, Metz Hashem, you'll soon need something else, we'll soon go and buy something else. But it all comes to the same point. A Ben Torah is Malchus, El Chayid is Malchus, Youre Shemaim is Malchus. Malchus. And this is what's makar of people, when they see covert, but real covert, derech eretz, the way you speak has to be completely different. So when they see how different you are, it's mamish the opposite of what so many people do today. When they see how different you are, they say, wow, this is real covered. And then they realize how much of a mevuzah they are. Then they realize how much of a mevuzah their whole lifestyle is. They see the things they are watching, how mevuzah it is. When you show them what real covered is, then they realize that they're in a generation of Edom that's bazoi atamoid, like the Novi Ovadia says. So that's one thing, that whenever you speak to somebody, always try to elevate him, to bring him up to Malchus, to bring him up to a covet. Remember that any day of the week you're a Shabbos to Kehid. Shabbos to Kehid. And you shouldn't be dressed with rags during the week, and not just rags, you should look mechubed. A Yid has to look mechubed. A from Yid has to look mechubed. And by them it's cool to dress casual, but when they see a mechubed, they see a nobility, that this is what draws them and this is what attracts them. They see there's something noble. And as we said earlier, everybody's running after covet. Everybody wants, I don't mean running after covet in a guyver way, but everybody's looking for something that's real covet because they realize this is the most precious thing in the world. When they see that the Yid is a mechubed, then they see that Yiddishkeit is the dova mechubed, ad ma'oid is the most mechubed thing in the Bria. Any questions on that? Yeah.
I know there's a certain stereotype that, with less from people, if they see someone with a black hat, it's a possibility that black hat people, I don't want anything to do with those. Those too crazy for me.
I'm not sure if we're talking about black hat here or not black hat. You look mechubed. You look mechubed.
If you normally wear a hat, let's say on Shabbos,
you should wear a hat. I'll tell you the truth. It depends. Could be that not everybody be attracted, but those who come to you are going to walk out different. You understand the difference? You might have less of a quantity of people that get drawn to you, but the people that get drawn to you are going to be affected in a qualitatively way different than anybody else.
Because of that.
It's not just the hat. It's not the hat. It's the covert. It's the covert. Malbush is covert. Malbush is covert. And as I said, they come to your house and they see nice dishes. They see nice food. They see an eshes chayil. They see the kids at snua. They see the kids at derech. It's all part of the covert. Yeah.
What if maybe part of I guess I can't think of any other examples, but what if part of what you're doing right now is not inherently the clothing is but for example, if you're exercising or you're bike riding or something, is that?
You're not. I mean, if you're running a kiruv thing and you're cycling around the hall, what you do in your own life. I'm saying, generally speaking, a person should always feel mechor. I had somebody in Esha Torah last year, Bacher, said he's embarrassed to wear tzitzis. He goes jogging around the old city in Shayafa. He said, I said, you're out of your mind. I said, tzitzis? He said, it's a Kiddush Hashem. He said, people think I'm crazy. You're jogging with tzitzis and sweating. They'll tell you what you sweat. I said, yeah, you tell them that you bought a separate pair of tzitzis because it's a mitzvah to wear tzitzis and you're proud of wearing tzitzis. It's a mitzvah and you're proud of wearing tzitzis. And he said he got such compliments as he was jogging. People said, wow, that's a real Jew. That's a real Jew. So I'm not saying a person has to go on a treadmilling or whatever with Shmoyne Begadim on, but I'm talking about when you've got a group of people coming to you, when you're facing people, when you're in dialogue, when you're interacting with people that are less religious, and they're looking at you, so they say so much about these religious Jews. What do I want to see now about religious Jew? So if they see this cool guy, casual guy, said, come, let's eat pizza, and he's sitting there, I said, so what makes him so different than I am? What makes him so different? In other words, because he keeps a few more mitzvahs? Is that our whole difference? When they see you, they have to say, wow, this is something totally different. Because that's what covet is. That's halachically what covet means. V'chibadatoi, shelo yehei. That nothing of yours, your speech, your walking, he should see that you walk differently. See that you walk differently.
So if you're riding a bike,
say it. It's not a chil Hashem to ride a bike. It's us. You're doing exercise. But you might be swimming. You don't have to wear all your clothes when you swim. But we're talking about when you're dealing in it now, when you're being makar people. You're sitting in a hall, and there's people that came to you. You're sitting at your Shabbos table. You're sitting on a Monday evening at your house, and you're having a group of people over at your house. So then you're malchus.
Is the Rav saying at some level? I'm having a little terribly quick Corbin myself. You have to have an awareness that what you are as a from Jew and the elements of the comment that is different. It's valuable. You have to walk around and go, it's unique and special. Is that the core of the verse?
Is that the what?
So the core of what you're saying?
If you're not machshav what you're doing, then you've got nothing. If you realize that what you're doing is the most precious thing in the world, and you convey that feeling, then
it's your whole lifestyle.
Exactly. Bottom line, a yid is a ben melech. Yes. I remember when I was young from England. So I remember the Queen's kids, regular Goyish kids, and they also wanted to go where all their friends were going at night, but they were told you can't do that. And if they did dare to go out once, they hit all the headlines. You're different. You're different. You're different. They're not looking to see. This is a big mistake. It's a deep mistake. In the kiruv world, they're not coming to you because they want somebody to be on the same casual level, but on my level, it's not that. They realize they've come to the conclusion. I'm talking about now in our years, in our generations. They're coming from a place where they feel mevuza ma'oid. And if somebody doesn't show them real kavod, they're not attracted. But you made a valid point. And that's why I made the joke before. You're not taking them to Mesh Aram. You're not taking them. You're not frightening them. You're not frightening them. So it could be somebody who will get frightened. It could be, as I said, you'll get a smaller group of people coming to you, but you'll change them in the beautiful, in the most echos, in the most quality way.
Is it also because you're showing that I'm not going to compromise?
Also, it's also an Indian. Yiddishkeit doesn't compromise, but there they can say that there they can start being done. They want to see what's precious. Precious.
That's precious. When you won't compromise, that means that you won't.
It's all. It's a sniff. Yeah. It's a sniff of what we're saying.
If you're mechabedem, is that a bit of a steer?
If you're mechabedem,
Yeah.
Chlal not. That's another nakuda, another important nakuda to mention, which I'll mention right now. But I just want to see if there's any more questions on what we discussed.
Yeah. So I know. So the Rav spoke on this a little bit last week, also 2 weeks ago, and he was saying that like they're not going to look at your tie and be excited. They're not going to care so much about like what you're looking at. They want to hear MS, and that's going to be the attraction. Is your tie? So like that's the Bachel that we're giving over. has like everyone gets a money suit, then like a special suit designated for when they're teaching.
That's also Malchus.
It's all Malchus, but I'm saying that you see by the Sfardim, they're big into their clothes, Ramat say that BMW, the Hasidim, they're all into very, very fancy. The literature world is Chaim, very posh, very, very posh.
So Reb Chaim's not posh, Reb Chaim didn't go with jeans.
Not jeans, I'm saying one
That's it.
not seeing.
He went with a hat. Reb Chaim was very makpid that people should go with hats always. Reb Chaim was very against people going with short sleeves. People came with short sleeves, they got it from Reb Chaim. Reb Chaim was very makpid on levush, on levush, which is called covert. Different types of levush, that's already different, different types of minhagim. But Reb Chaim was very makpid on levush. Very makpid, different type of levush. There's a frak, and there's a shreimel, and there's a turban for the different segments of Klal Yisrael, but it's all levush.
It's not necessarily like fancy.
Who spoke about fancy? We spoke about mechubed. Reb Chaim looked very mechubed. Reb Chaim had a nice hat. He had a frak, and he was a mechubed. He was a mechubed. They're all mechubed. We're not talking about the styles. We're just talking about not being casual. Reb Chaim wasn't casual in any way. Wasn't casual in his dress. On the contrary, you see clips of Chilonim coming to see Reb Chaim. They look at him, and the reason why he had such an impact on them is because you walked into that. You're walking into a different place. You were on a different planet, and that's what they saw. This is something else. This is something else.
Real Malchus.
This is Malchus. Yeah. Whatever. It's all Malchus. It's all Malchus. It's all Malchus. Different people have different minhagim. Ravat yourself is Malchus. When you see him with his turban, with his levush, it's also Malchus. Everyone is Malchus. It's all Malchus. Even within the Hasidic world, there's different. Some rebbes wear colored beckers. It's all different minhagim. But the bottom line is Malchus. The bottom line is to be a mechubed. There's no godel that says that as a mekarev you should be as casual as possible. They're not looking for that. They know what casual means. They know better than us what casual means. They didn't come to you to be casual. They didn't come to you to find you as being casual. That's a mistake that people make today. They're coming to say, wow. Ravat yourself was also mekarev so many people. Because they came in, they saw. They had no idea his godless and learning. They had no idea of his going. The Shutayam, the Sfadim had no idea. But he had a certain, this is something else. This is a different. And by the way, the reason why he had a BMW, he said explicitly, was because he learns the whole journey. He needed a comfortable car that shouldn't vibrate too much. If you would ask him what car he's driving in, I guarantee you he had no idea the name.
I know raffle it off every year.
Or whatever. It wasn't the BMW that excited him. He used to learn nach in the car, and he had a small nach. And as he got older, an old car, the vibration of a car could disturb him. He used to travel long distances, to give shiurim and.
So that's what. Also on this Indian. Also, when I said yeshivas, a lot of yeshivas today, it's like a thing that they need to bring in like young rebbeim, and the reason is because they feel that the older rebbeim are not connecting. There's a little bit of a divide between someone who's, I don't know, whatever that magic number is, however old they are, and then someone who's coming into yeshiva who's 18, 19, 20 years old. And I think it's clear that it's true. And when someone is 25, 26, 27, whatever age that is, they do connect to that generation or more. They feel like, oh yeah, I want to hang out with him. And through that, eventually they bring him to the older.
Not because he's casual.
Not casual, but it's more of a connection.
Connection, because he's more lively, he's more exciting. Yeah, no, yeah, but there's nothing. This is Bechlal not what we're talking about. In other words, they take a 25-year-old because he relates to their problems more, etc., but he's still a mechubed. In other words, if somebody would tell me take a 25-year-old, who's like you say, he's all about just being cool, so I wouldn't take him. But if he's he's an ernster, serious 25-year-old. And he understands, and he's got more of a sprach, and he's livelier, and he's full of energy, and he's geschmack, and he's this. But he's still got all those qualifications that we just said. It's not a stira. You have a 25-year-old mechubed. You can have a newed who's a mechubed. We're talking about being a mechubed over somebody that is a bozui. And even this 25-year-old, they have to see something higher in him. He's young, on the contrary, he's young, but nevertheless they can relate to him, but nevertheless they see that he's something higher than him, but he can relate to him, so that's how it's easy for him to bring him up. But not that he should talk their sprach, no. Yeah.
I know a lot of the multi-shops activities on saying it's not a multistick activity,
No.
but
I was about to say something when I was speaking to Reb Dani. In some places it's very fashionable, for the Rav or the Rabbi or the Rebbe in the Cheder or in the Yeshiva, whatever, to go swimming with the guys and to go play basketball with the guys. And you see him. I remember one of the yeshivas I used to teach. The Rebbe used to come in, still with shorts on the way to the shower before they give the shir in the afternoon. That's lacking.
it's not a good thing.
No.
Within the activity or
Activity is another thing. He can go, the rabbi can go with them to the beach. And go with them to a kosher beach, and sit with them there in the kosher beach. He'll sit on a chair, they'll get him a nice chair, he'll be there with the sefer, and he'll edge them on to splash each other. And but does it mean that a Rav shouldn't go swimming? Of course you should go swimming. It's lovely to go swimming. I saw 2 years ago, I saw Rav David Cohen, the Rosh Hashiva of Chevron. I saw him in Netanya, and he came to the beach with his hat, with his frock. He didn't go into the water. He went into the water with a bathing suit. But he came to the sea with his frock and with his hat. I didn't see him in the sea. I saw him walking out with his, with all his levushim on. You're allowed to go swimming. You're allowed to go swimming. You're allowed to be healthy. You're allowed to go cycling. You're allowed to do. I know somebody is quite a chashuv guy. Somebody, whatever, and one of these yeshivas, quite a chashuv guy. He's about tshuva. He loves windsurfing. So every 2 weeks he goes windsurfing. There's nothing wrong with that. It's healthy for him. Why not? But he's not taking a whole group of people to try to be mekar of them through windsurfing.
With the Talmudim, the Rav saying that it's
Malchus, covert Malchus. He's mavaz himself. He's a Rav, and he's mavaz himself to go swimming with his people. It's a bizayon. It's not the worst thing in the world, but it's a bizayon. It's not the same. It's not the same Malchus anymore.
But to take the Talmudim there for themselves.
Why not? Yeah. Why not?
You said that you saw going swimming and going to the beach with his frock and going swimming.
Huh?
Was it the other fellow went to the beach in his?
He wasn't with his time. He didn't take the Chevron yeshiva with him. He wants to go swimming. He's allowed to go swimming. He should only go at 1 o'clock in the morning when there's nobody there. He's a normal guy. You're allowed to be normal.
So I'd be saying that being relatable, the whole act of being relatable is a little bit misled and trying to directly appeal to try to be relatable to the point where you're basically lowering yourself down.
Very much.
As a buffer
Very much. That's right.
is a little is damaging their view of that real Torah mitzvahs.
They won't get the thing. What covert Torah is, what kvoid shemayim is, etc. Yeah.
What about wearing the regarding saying while you're doing activity? Is that also?
We're going around in circles. If you're on your own, you want to go jogging, go jogging. Don't forget to wear tzitzis.
With
Tavidim, it's a different story. That's the point I'm making. But again, I was talking more not just activities. I'm talking about when you bring somebody to your house, you bring a group of secular students to your house, you bring a group, you're addressing you and being invited to address a group of secular students. You don't always have to try to look cool. You have to be malchustic. That's the
If you have
nakuda.
non-religious family, you want to be mashpi on them.
Who?
Non-religious family, you want to be mashpi on them. That's also, you have to be like malchustic all the time. Like you couldn't play basketball with anyone anymore.
Because they're your immediate family.
It's not the family. It's not the family. It's not you do want to be mashpi on them. So.
Yeah, so if it's your family, it's slightly different because the family, anyways, they come into the gins of the malka. They're coming into your private quarters. So it's family. It's slightly different.
How much should you take into account their idea of COVID?
They don't have any idea of COVID. That's exactly the nakuda was saying.
But if they think of COVID, like wearing a tie, you might think, oh, a tie, what's covered about a tie? But
So
their
they-
idea of COVID is to wear a tie. How much should that be taken into account?
If they tell you can only come in if you wear a tie, so wear a tie.
Now they tell you. They don't know anything. They're not telling you anything.
Again, they have a certain. There's nothing wrong wearing a tie. I'm saying that they have a certain. You show them a certain mechubedikait, a Yiddish mechubedikait. It's a different type of mechubedikait, but they understand it. Then they'll say, hey, you know what? He's so mechubedik, he's not even wearing a tie. So then they say, you see that a tie doesn't necessarily bring to COVID, etc. The other nakuda we wanted to bring, which is a very important nakuda as well, and that's connected to this week's parasha, is the in this week's parasha. It's a mitzvah to count Klal Yisrael. And the Gemara, it's a Mishnah in Oral actually, that kol davar shebeminyan eino bottle. In other words, if you count something, if it's choshev important enough for you to count it, it's not bottle. When you count, the mitzvah to count Am Yisrael is to show that every Yid is not bottle. Not just every Yid is not bottle, but every Yid is absolutely vital. And when you're talking to secular Jews, the message you have to convey to them is that we need you. You're an ois in a Sefer Torah. We need you. You're part of our Kol Yisrael Arevim Zeh. When you do a mitzvah, it affects us all positively. Every Yid is counted. Every Yid was counted in the Midbar to show you that every Yid is Eino Bottle. Every Yid is a Davar Sheba Minyan. And a Davar Sheba Minyan, anything that's choshev enough to be counted, is Eino Bottle, is not Bottle. You have to make them feel important. You have to make them feel that they are an integral part of Klal Yisrael. They're not Shomer Torah mitzvahs. That's what's so sad about it. If you make them feel, meanwhile they're like on the outside, they're a different machaneh. But you're trying to bring them into our machaneh. Meanwhile, you're totally an outsider. Meanwhile, you're bichlal out of the whole game. And let me bring you into the game. It's also not a way to be makar of somebody. The way to be makar of somebody is by explaining them that what's so important about you keeping Torah mitzvahs is because you're much part of us. We have the same neshama. We're all part of it. We're all a chelik alekayim yimal. You're not bottled. We can't be mavatl you. Hashem told Moshe Rabbeinu to count Am Yisrael. Counting Am Yisrael and counting how the Goyim count is mamish total polar opposites. When the Goyim count, they want to see how many people live in the country. Population consensus is they're not interested in you. You're a stammer. You're a number. You're nothing. We want to know the sum total, but every yochid is completely bottle and mavutl. Hitler, Yemach Shemai v'Zichroi, they stamped it to two numbers, to be mavaza on the country, to be mavaza the Yidden, to show that you're nothing more than a number. L'havdil elef havdolas. By us, we're not a number. Every Yid is a mamish and oilam or maloya. And you have to make them feel, you have to make these secular Jews feel that they are vital to us. We need you. We need your Torah mitzvahs. We are an Am Echad. We are an Am Echad, and we need your Torah mitzvahs.
Tell them straight like this. Straight, have the Rav saying it like this.
Like what?
We need you. We need to, like, you're part, like,
make them feel good.
Tell them this. You don't have to play games. You don't have to like sugarcoat it. Like
it is sugarcoating. I mean, in a way, it's sugarcoating makes them feel good. It's sugarcoating in a real way.
It's an emes. You're explaining what it is. You're not just saying like some unclear way. Like
never speak to them in
the same family, whatever. Like
never speak to them in an unclear way, because they're coming from a place that's so far. If you don't speak to them in a clear way, they won't chap what you're saying. You got to be so clear and so razor sharp, not sharp in a negative way, in a sharp way, but you got to be so clear and razor sharp with them that they should get the message. When you tell them we need your mitzvahs, we need your mitzvahs, how important it is to the mitzvah, it makes them feel so good. Today, I'm telling you a Ma'aser Shoya today I was zocher to put tefillin on a Yid from Montreal that never put tefillin on in his life. And when he said he was in a karkafta de lemancha tefillin, people around started dancing, and it became a whole matzav. And he was so overjoyed. Why was he overjoyed? Because he felt so good. In other words, on one hand, he's somebody that never put tefillin on his life, so he's a completed outsider. And here, everybody's taking him into the middle, and they're making a whole rekidah about it. He's becoming the most important man in the world. And that was much more uplifting for him than the putting tefillin on. It made him feel important. The problem is, in the secular world, it almost seems like a different religion. It almost seems like, no one's really to blame from it, because we have to, in a way, keep separated in certain ways, but mitzvah we have to make them feel that they're all part of us. It's a bit of a stira. I mean, Pnimius is not a stira, but it sounds like a stira, but it's not. So you have to tell them that you through your shmiras and mitzvahs, you're being mechazik all of us, and you're part of all of us, and we need you all. You're all vital. You're ein bottle, and that's why every Yid is an ois in the Sefer Torah. And this week it's a hachana to Matan Torah, and in Matan Torah in the Sefer Dibros we say Anoichi Hashem Elikecha, not Elikeichem. Anoichi Hashem Elikecha. Kadosh Baruch Hu is talking to every single Yid. And when you talk to a secular Jew, you say that a Sefer Dibros was said to you, and to me, and to you. It was said to every single Yid. And Hashem gave a message to every single Yid. And it says in the Svarim that every Yid from those Shishim Riboy Yid that were there, every Yid heard his unique Aseret Dibros. Every Yid. Ki'ish echad b'leiv echad. There had to be that Ki'ish echad b'leiv echad. Because only when they understood how vital every Yid is an organ, is a limb in Klal Yisrael, when you make them feel that they're a bar hochi. Wow. You, Rabbi, you need me? Whew. That really encourages them, and it's emes, and it really encourages them. It gives them a good feeling. takes some of them a long time because they feel they belong to a totally different thing. They feel totally different. And it's completely not a stira to what we're saying before. Now, when you show that you're a mechubet, you're showing that it's not. You're showing that a yid is a mechubet. Our whole earlier talk was that you're showing that a yid is a mechubet, and therefore, as mechubet, that he sees you as being, he should also be that. He should also be mechubet. He should also be talking like a yid. He should also be dressing like a yid. He should also be doing all this like a yid. Why? Because he is a mechubet. Potentially, he is a mechubet. He's a yid. And because he's a yid, he belongs to an am, to a nation that is mechubet. A nation that was wrapped around with the anan hakovot.
When do you get into such a conversation with them? It's like heavy stuff. Like you don't just like throw on a person out of the blue. Like how does it?
First of all, you say it in a very nice way. And they want to hear this. This is something that they're desperate to hear. As I said, today's generation, and this is the klal of all our past shmoozes and all the future shmoozes, the klal is that we're living in a generation of bozi atama'oid, and they feel mevuzah. They just want to feel a mechubet, that's all. They want to feel it. They want to feel a mechubet. They want to feel that they're worth something. They want to feel that they're needed. They want to feel that they're part of this klal. And on the contrary, there's nothing more comforting and warm than saying that you're part of our klal. And therefore your mitzvahs are so essential for us. I know this from my own experience in Kiruv, that when they hear this, they get excited. They get excited. I have a boy in Esha Torah, every day he comes to me at 12 o'clock, noon, to put tefillin on. And once I gave him like this type of thing, he's not even in Shatar, he's in foundations, whatever, he's earlier. And every day at 12 o'clock, he comes and says, let's go upstairs to put tefillin on. For that reason. I said, you're a yid, tefillin binds us all together. You're part of us, you're all part of us. You came to an institution, we're all together in this, we're all together. So I've got a partnership with him now, I put the tefillin on, he puts the tefillin, he davens mincha, shachris, I don't know what he davens there, and he's happy with that.
When is it good to turn the lights on to a tish?
It's called Svanigin, you say. Okay, anyways, what's the time? I can't even see the time.
9:47.
No. Okay, so we'll get ready for Mara. Is there any more questions?
In terms of relating.
Thumbs up?
In terms of relating to him. So if he shares that he's struggling in a certain area, and I once had a guy that shared that he just let it out, like dealing with Kedosha and his whole life. Is there ever a welcome to say, I understand you from a personal place? Or you're not
Share yourself, you mean? Share your own struggles with him? No, I don't know how to. You what you should say is, especially when you're talking about in Yanam of Kedosha, you should say, this is the struggle of the generation. Everybody's struggling with this. You don't have to talk about yourself. You can say everybody is struggling with this to a degree. This is the Yetzer Hara of this generation. And the most important thing when it comes to being mechazik somebody on that is that because it's such a difficult generation, therefore HaKadosh Baruch Hu understands you, and HaKadosh Baruch Hu knows that all Jews at some point have fallen to this, and you fall, ki sheva yipel tzadik v'kom, just always get up, and always, just go weiter, move further. I don't know if I've said it over here, but there's a famous story from Rabbi Yankele, the Heiliger Rabbi Yankele Pshevoska. He was a Rebbe in Antwerp, and he saw a big diamond merchant from the Jews there. They're all in diamonds over there. A wealthy guy falling on the snow. Slipped on the way to Shachris. The guy got up in a second and looked around, and no one was allowed to see, because a wealthy man is not allowed to trip on the snow. He's not allowed to fall down. So Rabbi Yankele could see that this guy was aching. He had a bad fall, and he quickly got up and he turned around to make sure that nobody saw him fall. And with all his pain, he walked as if he wasn't in pain. Rabbi Yankele taught him a lesson. Even when you fall, you got to get up straight away, and you have to walk, move on as if you didn't fall. Everybody is struggling, and to be mechazik him, the Rabban Shalom knows the struggle, and Rabban Shalom knows that people fall because of these struggles. But just be a mechazik yourselves. Ki sheva yipal tzadik v'kom. Moshe Rabbeinu dismantled the Beis Hamikdash for 7 days and kept on rebuilding every day the Beis Hamikdash, dismantled it and rebuilt it, say the Svarim, because Kisheva Yipol Tzadik V'kom. Every day the Mishkan fell down, Moshe Rabbeinu dismantled it, till the 7th day, and then it was Kom. Kisheva Yipol Tzadik V'kom. That's what Yiddishkeit is all about.
I didn't understand the answer. Is it appropriate to share
Your own, you don't have to share your own personal experiences. No, it's not. It's not appropriate.
I'm saying I two guys in Gemara, and they come in and sometimes just can't do this anymore. It's so hard. I don't know understanding these words, and it's just Just share the fact that we went to that.
No, that yes. He's talking about inyanim of Kedosha.
Yeah, I understand. So I'm talking about...
You're talking about something else. I'm talking about that we struggle, of course. You're allowed to share that you're a human being, yeah.
Let's say a person is having a hard time with Shabbos or whatever. He's
Yeah, yeah.
He needs to be on his phone constantly. Is that appropriate to share things
Yeah,
like that?
yeah. You can tell them that you also at the beginning, and you're on the contrary. When you tell them at the beginning you're also struggling, and now look, Baruch Hashem, you took your trials and you persevered, and it works, and eventually, you hit your goals, etc. On the contrary. Yeah.
So we meet the second of June. So we're in a random on the bus, on the train, whatever, and we want to connect it to his skill or we want to connect it to Pi. So what can we say? Like, what's the board? Like, what's the...
First of all, you give him a big shalom aleichem. You say, Achi, my friend, my brother. First of all, you make him feel good that you're happy to meet him, and you're happy to meet another Jew, and he should feel that you're really happy to see another Jew. And then slowly, you can say, what's your life? Get into, I don't know how long the train journey is. You should always try to begin conversing with them. And take down their emails or take down their numbers. And if you talk to them about how geschmack, they should see that you're happy. They should see that Torah mitzvahs makes you very, very happy. And you should tell them, even if you can do one thing a day, just one tiny thing a day, and just get onto a conversation and let him. Most of them don't have people who care about them. The average Chiloni that you see on the train today, the average person does not really necessarily have somebody that really, really cares for them. In other words, they don't really have such a firm, strong, deep children-parent relationship. A lot of them are not married. A lot of them are divorced. A lot of them, not all of them obviously, but a lot of them don't really have anybody in the world that really loves them and cares for them. So when you show that you're really happy to see them and you really care about them, they open up to places where they would never open up to. Genuine care, that's all. When you show them that you care about where they're holding and you want to see them moving forward, but you care, so if that 1 minute they can see that you care. And then you take their email, and then every Shabbos you send them, you don't call them, every Shabbos you send them a Devar Torah on the email. And after 6, 7, 5 weeks, you call them, you say, hey, Manishma, what's going on? Are you getting my Divrei Torah? Etc., etc. You'll be able to move. It works slowly in these things. You meet somebody for 1 minute, it doesn't work in 1 minute. But you have to utilize steps.
And to say that, like Achos, this idea of like you're part of the family, like being a Jew means you're part of the family.
Murdik.
Stronger than that?
That's murdik. And then they're going to ask you, so why is there so much period? So then you tell them that because the Achdus is so important, that's why there's such a strong Yetzer Hara for period.
I know like in older village, people were like not from their entire lives, and a lot of times, sometimes just sitting down or whatever, you'll have an opportunity to learn what that may be, or for having a Shabbos meal. And then when the second they see that you're going right there with them, they'll say, they can comment like, you don't want to waste your time with me, like I'm too...
Do you know why they're saying that? I'm asking you why they're saying that. It comes from a high self-esteem or low self-esteem? Exactly. That's exactly what we're saying. We used the terminology before, Bazu Yatum Oid. He feels a mevuzah. So what's he trying to say? When he says that, what does he mean? He's begging you, embrace me, take me on your journey. That's another way of saying it.
So you push right there. I mean, like, the person's
More love, more care, of course.
You can't believe someone cares for you.
Exactly the Nakuda. Today they feel, when they see an Erlich Hayid, and they know where they know the path, because they know what they're looking at and what they've been doing and what they listen to. They know how far away they are. It's such a low self-esteem, and that's why I keep on saying that this is a different door. I'm not talking about this last 40 years. I'm talking about the last 10 years, 15 years, the last 5 years. It's a different door. It needs a different thing. They're all suffering from terribly low self-esteem. And they're all, but mitzad the door is a door of gaiva. So they don't know what to do. On one hand, there's the lower self-esteem. On the other hand, they never share that with you. So that's why they're making these comments to you all the time. You just persevere. When they see that you're consistent in your care for them, and you don't give up. I have a Balchur, he's not Balchur, I have Balchur. He's known him for 4 years. He lives mamish near Metula somewhere, near the other border, near Naharia. And I call him from time to time. Talk about mitzvahs. I tried to be makar of him. He's single, and again he's not happy. I say to Meir, Manishma, Mitsuyan, I call him Mitsuyan. I said, Aval Achshav Be'emet, Manishma. He's a man of 40, 42. He lives alone. Manishma. So he always says to me, he says, Shmuel, he says, "Ani ma'od ma'arich she'echpat lecha mimeni kol kach." He always says that. It's a slow process. And you know what? Even before it happens, it's a Kiddush Hashem. He sees that, there's a Frumid that really cares about it. He lives on the other side of the country, and he really cares about it. And I keep on telling you, you should come to Yerushalayim, come to us. He's shy, and he's got low self-esteem. I said, come to shul. He says, they're going to throw stones at me. Low self-esteem. That's all. It's all low self-esteem. He's a depressed, low self-esteem. And when you feel that you care, it raises his self-esteem. When you make him important for you, that you're busy and you're still calling him, it raises his self-esteem. That is the avodah. And with family, it's exactly the same. They want to see that you care for them. I tell boys in yeshiva, go home. I says, you don't have to come home and bang on the table. And he says, you've got no idea, parents, what Hilchos Shabbos is all about. Let me teach you. You go to your mother. When your dad's at work, you sit down with her, you're eating breakfast with her, you say, you know what, I learned certain halachas. And let's have, it'd be so much better if, you're anyways cooking cholent. So let's have kosher, let's have, cholent that was cooked without Chil Shabbos. And you say things in a nice way. On the contrary, it shows that you care. You genuinely care. A problem today in certain societies is that, like you say, they're very pushy, not in a way that they mean fair. They're very musadik, pushy musadik. And that doesn't work. But, a parent that loves a child is also going to be pushy. A boy in Esha Torah told me 2 days ago, he said, my parents are much frummer, and all my kids in my class are much more Orthodox, and I was jealous of all my friends all my life. Because they could come back any time of the night. My parents, I had curfew at my house. And my father used to drag me out of bed in the morning to go to Shachas in the school, and no other parents did that. They didn't have to put tefillin on. And he said, now I come to yeshiva, and says, I've got, my parents care about me. They really care about me. Shkoyach. I want to see groups coming here. There's one group coming tonight, but it should be here already. But I want to see you bringing groups here. Get in contact with Chilonim, contact the universities, contact groups, and bring them here. Let's actually put into practice. Godel Talmud Shemei V'Lidei Ma'aseh. You want one second, Rabbi Zwick, you want to switch this off? Shkoyach.